Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayet Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavat Sevaya Bhagavate Uttam Shloker Bhaktir Bhavatir Nashtaki. So today we're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 5, called the Creative Impetus, Chapter 8, called the Character of Bharat Maharaj. And the text is 8. It's in a prose form, so just read through. Tasya ha va eva kunkana uchcher etasmin krita nijabhimanasya har astat poshana palana lalan priya nana nudhyamane atma niyamaha saha yamaha purusha paricharyad adaya ekakasha katipataya nahar ganena vidyamana kil sarva evo davasanha. So, word-to-word translation and purport by His Divine Grace, Abhay Charanarvind Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Please repeat after me. Tasya, of that king, hava, indeed, ena kunake, in the deer calf, uchahe, greatly, etasmin, in this krit nija abhimanasya, who accepted the calf as his own, aha, every day, tat poshana, maintaining the calf, palana, protecting from dangers, lalana, raising it or showing love to it by kissing and so on. Parinana, petting it in love. Anudhyanena, by such attachment. Atma niyamaha, his personal activities for taking care of his body. Saha yamaha, with his spiritual duties such as non-violence, tolerance, and simplicity. Purusha paricharaya adaya, worshipping the Supreme Personality of Godhead and performing other duties. Ekashaha, every day. Katipayena, with only a few. Aha ganena, days of time. Vidyamanaha, being given up. Kila, indeed. Sarve, all. Eva, certainly. Udavasana, became destroyed. So translation. Gradually, Maharaj Bharat became very affectionate toward the deer. He began to raise it and maintain it by giving it grass. He was always careful to protect it from the attacks of tigers and other animals. When it itched, he petted it, and in this way he always tried to keep it in a comfortable condition. He sometimes kissed it out of love. Being attached to raising the deer, Maharaj Bharat forgot the rules and regulations for the advancement of spiritual life, and he gradually forgot to worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead. After a few days, he forgot everything about his spiritual advancement. Please repeat after me. Gradually, Maharaj Bharat became very affectionate toward the deer. He began to raise it and maintain it by giving it grass. He was always careful to protect it from the attacks of tigers and other animals. When it itched, he petted it, and in this way, he always tried to keep it in a comfortable condition. He sometimes kissed it out of love. Being attached to raising the deer, Maharaj Bharat forgot the rules and regulations for the advancement of spiritual life, and he gradually forgot to worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead. After a few days, he forgot everything about his spiritual advancement. Purport. From this, we can understand how we have to be very cautious in executing our spiritual duties by observing the rules and regulations and regularly chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. If we neglect doing this, we will eventually fall down. We must rise early in the morning, bathe, attend the Mangalarti, worship the deities, chant the Hare Krishna mantra, study the Vedic literatures, and follow all the rules prescribed by the Acharyas and the spiritual master. If we deviate from this process, we may fall down, even though we may be very highly advanced. As stated in Bhagavad Gita, 18th chapter, text 5, Yagya dana tapha karma na tayajam vatat yagyo danam tapaschaiva pavanani manishanam. Acts of sacrifice, charity, and penance are not to be given up, but should be performed. Indeed, sacrifice, charity, and penance purify even the great soul. Even if one is in the renounced order, he should never give up the regulative principles. He should worship the deity and give his time and life to the service of Krishna. He should also continue following the rules and regulations of austerity and penance. These things cannot be given up. One should not think oneself very advanced simply because one has accepted the sannyas order. The activities of Bharat Maharaj should be carefully studied for one's spiritual advancement. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shlakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahiham Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeyaham Shri Guruho Shri Yutapadakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadhvetam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitamscha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Paricharine Nirvishesh Shunyavadi Paschat Deshatarine. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesh Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kanchan Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vancha Kalpataru Bhascha Kripa Sindhove Evacha Patita Nama Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So the text and the translation once more. Tasya hevaha ena kunak uchere tasmin krit nijha nij abhimanasya ahar ahastat poshan palan lalan prinana anudhya anayatma niyamaha saha yamaha purusha परिचरायाध्या एकाकशा कतिपयेन आहार गणेन विज्यमानः किला सर्वे एवोद्वसनः. Gradually, Maharaj Bharat became very affectionate towards the deer. He began to raise it and maintain it by giving grass. He was always careful to protect it from the attacks of tigers and other animals. When it itched, he petted it, and in this way always tried to keep it in a comfortable condition. He sometimes kissed it out of love. Being attached to raising the deer, Maharaj Bharat forgot the rules and regulations for the advancement of spiritual life, and he gradually forgot to worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead. After a few days, he forgot everything about the spiritual advancement. So we're continuing to read the activities, life, and activities of Maharaj Bharat. And Srila Prabhupada, the last sentence of his purport, he points out, he says the activities of Bharat Maharaj should be carefully studied. The activities of Bharat Maharaj should be carefully studied. Why? For one's spiritual advancement. So, we're reading about the activities of Maharaj Bharat, because the result of that is that by reading and studying his activities, one will advance in spiritual life. And we've reached up to text 8 of this particular chapter. And in this, just to summarize last few texts, what has happened, that Maharaj Bharat saw a doe or a she deer who was pregnant, and when the fear of the lion, she jumped. While jumping, she had a miscarriage, and she gave birth to a calf, and the calf fell into the river water, and the deer, the she deer, the doe, went into the cave and she died, she passed away. And Maharaj Bharat, while meditating on the river Gandaki, he saw everything. He saw all as it happened. And Maharaj Bharat, out of great compassion, and like a sincere friend, the last text talks about, he lifted the infant deer from the waves, and knowing it to be motherless, Jai Shri Radha Madan Mohan Lalita Vishaka Devi ki Jai, Shri Gaur Nitai ki Jai, Krishna Balaram ki Jai, Prahlad Nrsimha Dev ki Jai. Because he saw the calf was motherless, because the mother had gone and passed away. Deer was left alone, wandering in not just on the ground, but in the river water. Naturally, natural compassion came. Anyone would. Many discussion has taken place on this particular topic in the last few days. I'm sure many more discussions will take place on this particular topic until this chapter is finished, about the pros and cons, advantages and disadvantages or what happened to Maharaj Bharat. Why did he do what he did? Are we to follow his example, or are we not to follow his example? But Prabhupada is very clear. He says the activities of Maharaj Bharat must be studied. Must study it. Not just read it, but study it. Study means one has to look at all the different angles of what Maharaj Bharat's activities are or were, and then from every angle, and come to a conclusion. Conclusion is already there, but one must come to an informed conclusion. Accepting something with information and conviction there's a difference. And Prabhupada has always mentioned that his books must be not just studied, but scrutinizingly studied. Scrutiny means you scrutinize, just like in Hindi they say, Bal ki khal utarna. You know? So that's what scrutiny is. You look at every angle, every aspect, and then you ask questions. Not that one is discouraged to ask questions. Unless one asks questions, how will one study and learn, and how will one scrutinize? The scrutiny has to be there. And here Prabhupada re-emphasizes the word that his life must be studied. What is the result of studying his life? Advancement in spiritual life. Because his life, Maharaj Bharat's life, and his activities are unique. They're very unique. They're unique in the sense, if we study other devotees' lives, mentioned in Srimad Bhagavatam, there are some personalities, their lives are slightly different. They give a different angle of vision. They give a different angle of understanding. They give a more opportunity to discussion. Some others, yes, it's devotional service, we have to accept. Yes, this is a very standard format we have to follow. But then some other personalities, they act in a different way, and that makes us think, makes us talk about, makes us discuss their activities, and makes us study. As Srila Prabhupada is mentioning, we must study. So, Maharaj Bharat, when he saw that the deer is motherless, and who would not feel compassion? So just put yourself in that position. You see a deer, you're meditating, you're chanting your rounds, and suddenly in front of you, you see okay, if it was a hog or a dog, maybe dogs, puppies are very beautiful as well. Maybe even hogs, puppies are, actually the nature's arrangement is that every child of every animal is very beautiful. That's the nature's arrangement. So that natural attraction is there for the living entity to be taken care of. So, and especially a deer. A deer is one of the most beautiful animals to look at, to see, and one gets naturally attracted to a deer. So there could have been other animal in the jungle, because so many other animals in the jungle. But here, a deer is specially arranged, because that attraction towards a deer, and especially a calf. When you go into Goshala, when you look at calf, how beautiful the calf is. Naturally, that attraction, the love, the compassion, where a man or a woman comes out naturally just by seeing a calf. And one wants to pat, one wants to scratch the calf, one may want to feed the calf. So that is natural compassion, natural love. And if one doesn't have that, one has to think twice. Because if one doesn't, that natural love doesn't come, because his soul, Anandamayo Abhyasat. Anand is the perfection of love. So if that love isn't there in everyone's heart, if one is very hard-hearted, then spiritual life is difficult. Not impossible, but difficult. And it's natural because, and Srila Prabhupada, commenting on the last text of chapter 1 in Bhagavad Gita, is it 46 or 47? Last text of chapter 1. Anyone remember? So last text, Srila Prabhupada comments, Arjun was soft-hearted, and that was his qualification to receive transcendental knowledge. And devotee is naturally soft-hearted, as Arjun was. Because when Arjun saw opposite side, both sides, his own side, especially the opposite side, grandfathers, uncles, acharyas, friends, etc., he became soft-hearted because he did not want to kill his own kinsman. He did not want to kill his own family. So, being a devotee, being soft-hearted, naturally the compassion came. So who would not? When see a deer, a calf, a child, a little baby, floating in the river, helpless, motherless. One is chanting one's round and meditating, who would not have the natural compassion? If one doesn't, then one has to think about oneself twice. If that compassion doesn't arise in the heart, then heart is not soft-hearted. And fall down. The fall down, we talk about fall down, Maharaja's Bharat's fall down, we'll discuss that in a minute depending on the time we have. What does fall down actually mean? Fall down or raising. Fall down from spiritual platform or rising I should say. Rising on the spiritual platform is the caution of the heart, is the situation of the heart, is the conditioning of the heart. Depending on how hard the heart is, one doesn't advance in spiritual life, or it becomes more difficult for one to advance in spiritual life. Ultimately, it's the conditioning of the heart. And what is the bhushana, or the ornaments of a sadhu, as described in 3rd chapter of Bhagavatam? Titikshva karunika. Karunika means what? Compassion. Titikshva karunika sarvadehinam is friendly to all living entities. So what does that mean? Does that mean when we see somebody helpless situation, we say, no, it's all Maya. It's all bodily platform. I got to chant my rounds. I got to go and do something else. I don't care if that individual dies, that's it. I don't care. There's a story of this sage. The story of the sage is that there was one man, one kind of a very difficult person who did not like this particular sage living in his area. He was a local mafia, local gunda. And the sage became very popular overnight because he was a sage, a devotee. He became very popular. People started coming and worshipping him. And this gunda slowly started losing his influence. So he knew that sage went to the river. He took baths 3 times a day. And one day he went. And there's another story related to that as well. But this one we'll tell this one. So one day this person went and he was watching the sage go to the river, come out, and he wanted to belittle. He wanted to belittle or embarrass the sage. So when he was coming out of the river, this person spat on him. So the sage went back into the river, washed himself, came out. He came out and spat on him again. So sage went, and this happened many times, 50, 60, 70 times. After a while, that person thought, he's changed. His heart changed. Then he begged forgiveness from the sage, and he realized how great the sage was. How good qualities he had, even though he was being perturbed, and although he was being poked, he did not retaliate. He did not say anything. So after a little while, the person's heart changed. He begged forgiveness. Then he asked the sage. He says, "How come you did not protest?" The sage said, "This is my nature. A devotee's nature is to be compassionate and not to retaliate and not to for one's self-interest. You got your own nature, I got my own nature. You understand? So a devotee's nature is such. A devotee's nature includes compassion. And if devotee's nature is not sarvadehinam, that devotee has to work on that. One has to practice. This nature, these qualities are already inherent in every one of us. Some displayed more than others. Some don't display it at all. But here, Maharaj Bharat, he was very compassionate. And when he saw, and he picked the deer up, and then in today's verse, many things are described. Then that he became very affectionate, he maintained it, he raised it, fed it, he petted it, he kissed the calf, and in this way, he became very attached to the deer. But then the question comes, okay, many discussions have taken place, many papers have been written, many articles have been written on this particular aspect, and Prabhupada gives very in-depth explanation of this. Prabhupada actually, he talks about Maharaj Bharat becoming attached to the deer, and we know Lord Krishna talks about that in chapter 2 of Bhagavad Gita, text 60, right? 60-61. Dhyayato Vishayan Pumsa Sangasteshu Upajayate Sangat Sanjayate Kamaha Kamat Krodha Vijayate. Right? So he talks about that. So that attachment is because of the attachment one loses. And Buddhi Nashat Pranashati, then one falls down. So that falling down from the spiritual platform begins with attachment, with attaching the one's senses into the object of senses. So that's what we see Maharaj Bharat doing here. And then Prabhupada talks about, and then one can argue, but why did he fall down? What was the reason of his falling down? Did he commit any offenses in this life, in that his life or his previous life? And then answer is there in the text 26 of this particular chapter. Shukdev Goswami, he tells Parikshit Maharaj this. He says, due to the fruitive results of his past deeds, he fell down from mystic yoga. And then he says, this was definitely due to his past karma. Because Maharaj Bharat was what? On Bhava stage of Bhav. But then other argument is one never falls down from the stage of Bhava. But why did he fall down? Just like the other arguments or discussion points are, one never falls down from a spiritual world. But we see many examples of great devotees falling down from the spiritual world, like Jai and Vijay. Right? They fell down. And then we read in Srimad Bhagavatam, Chitraketu, right? King Chitraketu. He was a Mahabhagavat. He came Vritrasur. And then coming back to the compassion, another example can be given. As I said, naturally, it is natural for everyone to become compassionate. Then there are examples in Mahabharata, other places, when the Pancha Pandavas were on Mahaprasthan, when they left Hastinapur, they went to Himalayas. On the way to Badrinath, who they come across? A dog. And what did they do? They fed the dog. They could have said, hey dog, get out. We're going on our way. We're going on our way to attain moksha. We don't want you here. You're becoming an obstacle. They did not do that. Why? Were they hard-hearted or were they soft-hearted? So the arguments are there on both sides. But the danger comes. There's a saying in English, there's a fine line between enthusiasm and fanaticism. That enthusiasm and उत्साह और कट्टरवाद के बीच में बहुत बारीकी रेखा है. So there's a fine line between being enthusiastic and being fanatical. So more often, and what is the solution? The solution is bhakti, as Srila Prabhupada defines it. How does Prabhupada defines bhakti? Devotional service. You see? Anyway, we'll come back to that in a minute. So there's a fine line. So the arguments are both sides. What is one should? And one argument is, no. We must give up everything. Or we must look after ourselves first. Forget just like the example can be given. I'm just using this example because it was mentioned the other day. Just like you go on an airplane. Right? When the stewardess tells you in a case of emergency, what should one do? One should look after oneself first by putting on the mask on oneself. But this is saying also in English, charity begins at home. Similarly here, charity begins at home, i.e. one must look after ourselves. But it doesn't stop there. If one thinks that's it, I'm looking after myself, I've done my duty, I don't care about others, that's only half the truth. As in the case of the example of the plane, what are the instructions? Instructions are to save others, you got to save yourself first. If you don't put your mask on first, then you can't put a mask on somebody sitting next to you. That means you save yourself and save others. Not that I've only saved myself, I don't care about others. This is the difference. Charity begins at home, but it does not end there. It's the beginning. Charity is beginning with oneself at home, then it extends out to others. But the difference is one must have a balance. What Maharaj Bharat did. Okay, then coming back. How come he fell down? It was pointed out as Srila Prabhupada in text, as Shukdev Goswami in text 26 is pointing out. Due to his past deeds, past karma. And what is the karma? What is the past karma? It's actually aparad. As it was pointed out, Tattva Sandarbha, Bhagavad Sandarbha, Srila Jiva Goswami points it out. It is due to the aparad that the offenses take place. So, that is there. But there's another angle to it. Yes, all that is true. All that is absolutely true. But there's another angle concerning about the falling down of the devotees and very high platform. Just like example was given, Jaya Vijay. You see. And then it is pointed out, and Maharaj Bharat, the Chitraketu, other example was given. There are many examples like that. The example is, the explanation is, yes, absolutely true that devotees from bhav level or even prema level, no one falls down. And the fruitive activities actually does not become obstacle on the path of devotional service. In one sense, they don't. Right? But then, also Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur points it out in his commentary to one of the purports on this particular topic, is that there is, and Srila Prabhupada on the text 26, in the purport, what does he point out? He says, according to this, in this regard, a question may be raised. How can a devotee be affected by his past misconduct and vicious activities? How can that be? Srila Prabhupada asking a question. Then he says, then he quotes Brahma Samhita, Karmani nirdhati kintu cha bhakti bhajam. For those engaged in devotional service, bhakti bhajan, the results of past deeds are indemnified. So the conclusion must be, Maharaj Bharat purposefully became over-addicted, to the dear and neglected his spiritual life. And other aspect is that Krishna, the Supreme Lord, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he temporarily, because he wants to perform a leela, or certain Leela needs to be performed. That's like in the case of Jai and Vijay. Jai and Vijay, the whole purpose was that Lord Narayan had a desire to fight. He wanted to engage in Veeraras. And who could he engage with? Not the Jai Shri Radha Madan Mohan Lalita Vishakha Devi ki Jai, Gaurnitai ki Jai, Krishna Balaram ki Jai, Prahlad Nisangadev Bhagwan ki Jai. What was the point of Lord Narayan engaging in fight with the little tiny jivas on the earth planet, who just blown away with a little bit of wishing, with a little air, tiny little tinku minkus of the world, what are the points? So Lord Narayan had to engage with his eternal Parshads who are strong on almost his level, and Jai and Vijay were there. Jai and Vijay are the bouncers, as they say, of the spiritual world. They're very strong. So a Leela, it was arranged in such a way that Jai and Vijay come to the material world, and Lord Vishnu Narayan comes and engages. Similarly, Maharaj Bharat, and it is mentioned it was Krishna's purpose for Maharaj Bharat to be temporarily kind of misled from the path of devotional service. So a lesson can be learned, a lesson can be given to this world, not to become too attached. Attachment is one thing, but okay, just like Arjuna in the Bhagavad Gita, in the 8th chapter, Yam Yamami Smaranam Bhavam Tayajante Anta Kalevram. Arjun and Smarana Mukta Kalevram in the 5th text. And Arjun, hearing these verses, Arjun thinks, hey, this is so easy. I don't have to fight anymore. Because Krishna wants Arjun to fight. But Arjun, when he learns, he says, wow, that's all I have to do now. Just to remember Krishna at the end of life. No more fighting, no nothing. Okay, I'm going home. But then next text, Krishna says, Tasmat sarveshu kaleshu mam anusmara yuddhacha. You remember me and fight at the same time. Don't just remember me, but fight. I do your duty as well. And to emphasize that, he says, Yoga yukto abhyasena, abhyas yoga yuktena. Next word, chetasana anyagamina. With practice, you remember me as well and fight. So emphasizing that. So, therefore, while being compassionate, compassion is one thing, but that has to be balanced. One should not neglect one's spiritual life, as Maharaj Bharat did. Now, if he continued his spiritual life and looked after the deer, that would have been something. That would have been different situation. But that did not happen. Because Krishna wanted a lesson to be learnt. He temporarily. Why temporarily? Because Maharaj Bharata remembered his past life. Just like Vritrasura remembered, he was Chitraketu. So that is Krishna's mercy to the highly advanced devotees through whom Krishna acts to teach everyone a lesson. Now, if they did not remember their past life, then would have been something else. Krishna's mercy wasn't there. Or Krishna would have arranged some other lila. So that is the... and then, Srila Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur points on this particular aspect. He says to Krishna, he says, even if they fall down, Krishna, but what is the result? The result is that they remember you thousandfold. Just like next life of Maharaj Bharat, he became a deer. What did he do? He just remembered Krishna's past life. And he went away from his flock. He went back to Gandaki river. Next life he became Jad Bharat. And again he remembered. So the remembrance became multiplied. And that is the result. That is a special mercy. Not that. So what is being talked about is Maharaj Bharat went on one extreme. Not a balance. From enthusiasm, he went to the other aspect. And that is the key. of understanding the incident and the Leela of Maharaj Bharat. But then the question comes, what are we to learn from it? And this is where Srila Prabhupada's purport comes in. This is where Srila Prabhupada's purport comes in. He says, from this we can understand how all of us have to be cautious. How we have to be cautious while performing our spiritual life. And what is the cautious? He says, we have to perform our spiritual duties by rules and regulations, i.e. sadhana bhakti, not raganuga bhakti, although some of us like to forget our sadhana bhakti and go straight into raganuga bhakti. But no, sadhana bhakti. And what is that? Regularly chanting Hare Krishna mantra. Then he says, we must rise. What does sadhana bhakti constitute? That is part and parcel of ISKCON, as Srila Prabhupada very scientifically formulated a program. We must rise early in the morning, attend the Mangalarti, worship the deities, chant the Hare Krishna mantra, study the Vedic literatures, and follow the rules prescribed by the acharyas and spiritual master. Otherwise, if we neglect doing this, we will eventually fall down. Srila Prabhupada is saying that. And we should not, and don't, at least some of us should not think, oh, I am on the level of Maharaj Bharat, Krishna will save me. Who knows, he may do. I know, he may save you, but some of us he may not. So, but then, to warn that, to warn the devotees of that thinking, Srila Prabhupada finishes his purport. He says, if we deviate from this process, we may fall down, even though we may be very highly advanced. Then Srila Prabhupada quotes the text from chapter 18, text 5 of Srimad Bhagavatam. Yagya dana tapha karma na tyajayam karyam evatat yagyo danam tapascheva pavanani manishanam. Pavanani manishanam. It purifies. What does purify the manishanam, the highly intelligent, highly advanced devotees? Yagya dana tapa. Yagya danan tapasya, i.e. acts of sacrifice, charity and penance are not to be given up. Even by the manishanam or highly advanced devotees. What are they? The acts of sacrifice. Charity. What does charity mean? Charity is there if hearts are soft, if hearts are purified, if our hearts are hard, it's very difficult to give charity of any form. And here Krishna is pointing out one must not give up charity. Never to be given up charity. That means one must perform, one must help others. One must be compassionate toward others. Not become hard-hearted. That's not the question. But at the same time, one should not forget the purpose of a life. I.e., one should not become deviated from the path of devotional service and fall down. So that is the thing. That is having a balance in life. And then he says, then Prabhupada says, even if one is in renounced order, even one is a sannyasi, one must perform these activities. And what is a sannyasi? What is the definition? As 5th chapter, text 3 of Bhagavad Gita points out. The 6th. Gaya sa nitya sannyasi na shochati na kangshati, in the 5th chapter. And then the 6th chapter, text 1. Anashrita karma phalam karyam karoti. And then he says, sa sannyasi cha yogi cha na niragani na chakriya na cha akriya. So that's the definition. Sannyas doesn't only mean external features. Yes, that is one level of it. Definitely means that, but doesn't only mean that. A sannyas is in the form. Sannyas is defined attachment and detachment. That's how sannyas is ultimately defined. How attached and how detached one is, irrespective of one's varna or ashram. That's a real sannyas, as described by Lord Krishna in Bhagavad Gita. So many other things can be said. The final point I like to make is what can we learn? As Srila Prabhupada says, the activities of Bharat Maharaj should be carefully studied for one's spiritual advancement. As we said, there has to be balance. I just mentioned that earlier on. Other aspect is that one must not reduce one's spiritual activities like Maharaj Bharat did. See, as soon as he saw the deer or the calf, he became attached and he started looking after the deer. The result of that was he reduced his spiritual activities. And then he reasoned. Then he reasons. He talks about in the next verses, even if I have to give up my spiritual life for the sake of looking after somebody, that's justifying. He's justifying his activities. And sometimes we do that also. Sometimes when we don't come follow the sadhana bhakti, we don't do this, we justify in our minds. Oh, it's okay to do that. He didn't come, that's okay, I have to follow him. He didn't come, so I'm ill, I'm this, I'm that. So many justifications are there. As Maharaj Bharat was reasoning and justifying. Other one was, when one falls, when one stops, when one reduces one's spiritual activities or one's sadhana bhakti and starts reasoning, then that devotional service, sadhana bhakti, becomes ritualistic activity. Karma kand. Like Maharaj Bharat, when he was plucking the flowers and other things to worship the Supreme Personality Godhead, but who was thinking of? The deer. So that became a ritual. And finally, after that, what was the result of all that? He became restless. Like sometimes we see in our lives, that's what we need to learn and identify our life with the life of Maharaj Bharat. And Maharaj Bharat became restless because he was thinking, what will happen to the deer after I go? Who will look after the deer? Like that. And the example is also given in this respect of Sridhar Swami. Oh, when Sridhar Swami saw, when after his wife died giving birth, and he left his child immediately. And that example is given, we should also do that. But Sridhar Swami left after he was sure that he will be looked after by Krishna. And then Krishna arranged for the king to come and take care of the child. Are we on that level? We have to think. Haribol, we have to think on that level. So when become restless, Maharaj Bharat gave up that body in that condition. So we have to be also very careful that we don't reduce, we don't start reasoning or justifying, we don't let our spiritual life become ritualistic karma kand. And there is karma kand in spiritual life. That happens. And Maharaj Bharat Maharaj is illustrating that very aptly here. And then we must not become restless, but must have a balance in life. And that is the key, as far as my understanding goes. So that balance will stop one being enthusiastic, crossing over the Lakshman Rekha of going into fanaticism. And more often, we find in our devotional service, we all do that. We tend to go straight into fanatic level. And straight into this. We become what we become? We become, this is saying in Hindi, kitabi kida. Right? We become bookworms. Then the practical aspect of that knowledge, Gyan and Vigyan, we just concentrate on Gyan and we forget about the Vigyan aspect. And that is the key of advancing in spiritual life. I think I'll stop here. If there is any corrections, comments and questions, we'll welcome. Prabhu, is there any mic here? No, we want others should hear. Unless you have this.
Hare Krishna, very wonderful class. Suppose if we are not able to understand that we are jumping from the jumping from the enthusiasm level to fanatic level. So how can we come to know that we are enthusiastic or fanatic?
How we come to know whether we enthusiastic or not enthusiastic or jumping over the line as I was talking about? See, we has to know the 6 aspects which help our devotional service as an act of devotion, and 6 aspects which become obstacle in our devotional service. And first, see, what is pointed out first? The obstacles are pointed out first in nectar devotion, right? Ahar, what is it? Ahar prayascha prajalpo niyamagraha, like that. Huh? Atyahara prayascha prajalpo niyamagraha. What are the 2 ones? Lolam cham. And then that is given first, isn't it? Normally one will give the positive aspect first. Oh, what is the positive aspect? Who can say? Utsahan, Nishya, Dhairyat. So here, Utsaha. Prabhu. Rivo. So, normally, one doesn't give negative aspect, but here the negative aspect is given first. No, then the positive. Because of warning. There's a saying in English, prevention is better than cure. Isn't it? So we have to prevent ourselves we have to learn the mistakes first. We have to learn the obstacles of the path of devotional service first. Srila Prabhupada points out, what is a sign of intelligence? In the context of he gives many definitions, but in the context of an enemy in the battlefield, he says an intelligent person will work out the strength of the enemy first before he fights with him. Similarly, when going on path of devotional service, we have to know where we can fall down in the path of devotional service. What are the obstacles on the path of devotional service? Prabhu. Okay. So I'll continue. So what are the paths? So I'm answering his question, Prabhu. Huh? So therefore, how we know? How we know that? And Srila Prabhupada points it out here in the purport itself. He says, study the Vedic literatures and follow the rules prescribed by the acharyas and the spiritual master. That is the key. How we know where we're at, how well we're progressing, how well we're not progressing, if there is obstacles on the path, how we can overcome them. Are we being very enthusiastic? Are we going in the pace of the hare or a tortoise? Which path are we following? That is, the devotees and the spiritual master will tell you that. Yes, very true. Absolutely. The qualification of becoming guru. So therefore, that's how we know. But, and there are other ways, self-inspection, that is another way. Consultation with other devotees, senior devotees. Consultation, speaking with the one spiritual master. Studying the scriptures. Praying to the deities. There's so many ways one knows. Whether one, and also listening to the Paramatma. It's not easy, but listening. Otherwise, most of the time we listen with our mind. But listening to the Paramatma, the inner voice. not to our mind. There's another topic altogether. But there are ways of doing that. Well, we must be alert, and we must be aware. We must be aware all the time. And example is given, just like when one is driving. Even for a fraction of a moment, if one concentration is lost, accident happens. So devotional service is like that. We have to be aware constantly all the time, and not become slackened, not become neglectful. And then Maya will catch us. So anyway, that's. Any other questions or comments, corrections?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Prabhu, you told that there is Gyan and Vigyan. So one has to learn and practice. So you said that only Gyan means fanaticism.
Only Gyan?
Only Gyan and fanaticism.
Not yes and no, but carry on.
So please elaborate on this.
No, only Gyan doesn't mean fanaticism. That's not what I meant. Yes, there is a difference between Gyan and Vigyan. Gyan and Vigyan, as we know, Gyan means applying the knowledge and practice. That's what Vigyan is. And that's what Prabhupada called devotional service. Bhakti is devotional service. What does service means? So, okay, if I say Bhakti, as Arjuna in Bhagavad Gita, he was thinking, okay, now I will just remember and do nothing else. But Krishna says, no, you have to fight as well. And that's Bhakti. You surrender to me and fight. Do as I tell you to do. So devotional service, Prabhupada very aptly, scientifically and properly defined Bhakti in today's context. So everyone understands very easily that we have to do our sadhana bhakti as well as physical service. And that what we learn from the books of the Bhagavatam and scriptures, we turn that into practical service by doing physical service. And that's why the GBC law is there. Every devotee must perform, must do, irrespective of whoever he or she is, irrespective of whatever position he or she may be in, must do, besides one's morning program, must do minimum of 6 hours of physical service daily. That is the law. And that will force oneself to perform, to make Gyan into Vigyan. You see? See, even performing Vigyan, one can become fanatical. So fanatism is just not limited to Gyan. It is also applicable to every situation. Fanaticism just means one becomes, without proper understanding, ahankar comes, one becomes hard-hearted, one becomes blinkered, one doesn't think of other aspects in life. I'm the way, I'm my way or the highway kind of philosophy. That's kind of fanaticism. That can also be introduced in every level, irrespective of whatever one level is at. Okay, if there's nothing else, who will? Prema Bhakti Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, thank you very much for your wonderful presentation.
Thank you.
Just small confusion. What is a real compassion? Just in Bhagavad Gita, maybe in the preface,
Sure.
Prabhupada writes.
Yes, good point.
One person is taking bath in the river, and because he was not expert in swimming, that's why he was drowning. And two persons looking at that person.
Two persons
are standing on the bank.
Right.
They were looking the incident. And one person, he became very lenient to seize dresses and ornaments, because the person is going to lose all his ornaments, all very expensive. He started to regret. And another person, he also became very lenient and compassionate by thinking that person is going to die. So we see both of the persons, those are standing on the banks, are compassionate. So whose compassion is real compassion?
Right. See, Prabhupada in the purports also points out, compassion, ultimate compassion means compassion not for the body, because compassion for the body becomes philanthropic and other activities. But that's also agyat sukriti, punya. But real compassion means taking that individual to the level of spirituality, to the level of Krishna consciousness. That is real compassion. But the example you gave, that's why, coming back, that's why Prabhupada emphasized on preaching. And Prahlad Maharaj also say, Andha yatha andhar upniyamanas, if somebody sees, because everyone is following, blind is following the blind, therefore it is everyone's duty to make sure. We have to educate and teach and preach. But the example you gave, see, the two people on the riverbank, one sees somebody drowning. One says, I'm not bothered, it's not compassion, I won't save that individual because I'm only looking out. He's not his body. Right. Other person saying, no, he goes and saves that individual. So, who's better? What is real compassion? Ideal position, the ideal situation is, see, the second person is better than the first. The person who saved that individual. Because at least he showed compassion to that individual. He performed an act which will bring positive result to that individual. How? Let's look at let's say fruitive activity, karma kand or any level. That person who saved that individual, he done an act of piety. Right? That he saved that individual, that he's done, he will get something out of that, benefit. Then the person who saved, he'll be very grateful to the person who saved him. And he may pronounce some benedictions or rewards or whatever. If that person the person who saved, when he sees this person who saved me, I'm inspired by him. What does he do? I have to find out. He may get inspired and follow that person's activities. But whereas the other person who just stood there, did nothing, immediately he's gonna get a negative karma by not saving that body. But then, and he will get curses when the person is drowning. What he's doing, he's saying, bye-bye, good luck, the body, I'm not gonna save you. Right? But even that is not ideal compassion. Compassion, real compassion in this case, the second person who saved him, he would have saved him and then he would have taken this further by teaching him, bringing it to the level of Krishna consciousness. That is real compassion. Just like when we go and give out books. We give books and that's it. Generally, our duty is finished. No, that is one step. The next step is we have to follow them up and make sure they read the books and they're raised from that level to level of that level. That is real compassion. But if one just says, I do nothing.
Hare Krishna, I forgot to mention that point, last point. Yeah, he was developing his compassion to the person who is going to die. So he died. And after that person, the devotee, he chanted few rhymes and he sacrificed the result for that person. And he was very prayerful to the Supreme Personality of God. Means one thing is, one of the associates of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he rescued not only one living entity, he rescued all the living entities of the universe. How? Simply by chanting Krishna's name constantly and gave all the resultant to them. He requested Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, please deliver them.
The question is, are we on the level of Basu Ghosh or other devotees? By our chanting, we can say, the benefit I will get, that will deliver the rest of the humanity or other person. What guarantees that our chanting is offenseless? What guarantees that I can't even save myself by my chanting, let alone I save others by my chanting? What guarantees that?
Okay, our chanting is not so pure, but we should follow the footsteps of the acharyas at least.
Yes,
We are
the
following
acharyas, we are following the footsteps of the acharyas. Yudhishthira Maharaj,
Yes.
that dog which came to him, he could have said, thrown the dog out.
Like,
Yeah.
like
So,
from,
yeah, carry
like
on.
from ISKCON society. We are well known to all the people, even to the government, that we don't know anything for the society. So from their viewpoint, they think that we are fanatic.
Right.
But we are actually expressing our real compassions by distributing Krishna consciousness.
But do they understand that? Do they understand that's real compassion? They don't. So therefore, it is the duty of the preachers, the devotees, to make them understand that what is real compassion and what is not real compassion. If Prabhupada wasn't compassionate, he would have stayed in Vrindavan. He would not have established this ISKCON society if he wasn't compassionate, if he didn't show that. That is real proof. His compassion. But his point was, he showed compassion and then raised them on the level of devotees. That is the key. Compassion just doesn't mean one half of the equation. Compassion has a two aspect. Saving somebody and then raising that individual to the level of spiritual life. That is complete compassion. It's just like saving that drowned person, and then taking that, making him a devotee. That's compassion. Rather than letting that devotee, rather letting that drowned person drown.
Just last point, bro. This is problematic all. So many people are suffering. So many, all the living entities are suffering. And all the living entities will suffer. So what to do as a devotee? Suppose the outsider, they are not understanding that we are not fanatic. But at least what should be my understanding, I am only chanting Krishna's name, distributing Krishna consciousness, and at the same time we know as a part of ISKCON activities, we are distributing prasadam for their benefit. So at least what should be my understanding? Am I fanatic or compassionate?
No. See, you have to understand the definition of fanatic. Fanatic doesn't come into this particular sentence. So fanatic has a different understanding. In this particular sentence you said, what should be my duty or understanding if I see other individuals not following not becoming to the level of devotee. What Prabhupada and his duty of ISKCON is, one has to try. One tries and then one tries to train them. If after training they don't reciprocate, then it's up to them. But we have tried. That is the key. But if one doesn't try, that becomes towards the level of fanaticism. See, we see a person who's drowning. I save that individual. I try to save that, I save that individual and then I try to make him a devotee. If he doesn't become devotee, that is his bad luck or whatever. But at least I've tried. And that Krishna is going to see that. Guru's Prabhupada is going to see that I've tried. Not the result, whether he becomes a devotee or not. But if we don't try thinking, oh, he's not the body, that is becoming towards a fanaticism. Thank you. I think we must stop here. Thank you very much. Otherwise, we'll be called fanatics. We're not having prasad. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Granth Raj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Ki jai.